Hello, my name is Neil Sawson. I'm a longtime Freddie Gruber student, and the purpose of this video is to share with general drumming public some of Freddie's teachings and techniques. What I'm going to discuss tonight is the fulcrum wrist bounce. It's the development of the wrists, the way Freddie taught it to me, which was the precursor to the development of the finger control or the finger bounce technique. So we get right into it. There's a few things you'll want to know. When you do the fulcrum wrist bounce, you're not snapping the stick up, constricting the muscles to do it. You're just letting the stick trampoline off the pad or drum, much like bouncing a ball, like dribbling a basketball. So this keeps the hand relaxed, and the kinetic energy released when the tip of the stick hits the pad or drum, the kinetic energy released will propel the stick back, and you're just holding onto the stick and allowing the stick to push the hand back to the starting position. The stick moves the hand, remember that. The hand never motivates the stick motivates the hand. So what we're going to do is, there's a couple of preparatory exercises that Freddie taught me, and for the fulcrum wrist bounce, the wrist development exercises. And the first exercise, these are called the off exercises. The grip is off the stick. You will hold the stick not with the index finger and the thumb, but with the second finger and the thumb. The first joint of the second finger is opposite the thumb. The index finger is extended straight and rests on top of the stick, much like a timbali stick, like a timbali player would play the timbali. You start in the up position, relax the wrist and the forearm. The back of the hand is at right angles, more or less, to the top of the forearm. And I'm just going to drop the stick, and I'm going to let the stick bounce up on its own accord, and the stick will push the hand up as it rebounds off the pad. This exercise consists of a two-measure phrase. It's a measure of quarter notes to a measure of eighth notes, back and forth. It's not to be done fast. You can set your metronome, if you use a metronome, to 60, and this is the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and feel the stick pushing the hand up to the starting position. Just relax the wrist, relax the grip on the stick, and let the stick motivate the hand. So the stick is now trampolining or bouncing off the drum pad on every stroke. Bounce, 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 bounce back, bounce, 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 bounce. Up, up, always think up, up. Relax the wrist hinge, and the stick will push the finger and the index finger and the whole hand and wrist up to the starting position. So I recommend doing this for about 5 minutes to 10 minutes at the beginning, at a nice, slow, relaxed tempo. Need not do this fast. And you'll notice something very interesting. You'll notice the weight of the stick, the mass of the stick, shifts from the tip of the stick to the ass end of the stick on every stroke. When the stick is in the up position, the weight of the stick is in the ass end of the stick. When the stick comes down to strike the pad, the weight will be felt in the tip of the stick, at the bead. And that weight shift takes place over the fulcrum. The fulcrum, according to Freddie's concepts, is the second finger of the right hand, the long bone between the first and second joint. The stick rests on this finger, and it is at this point, the long bone of the second finger, that the weight of the stick shifts from the tip of the stick to the ass end of the stick, to the trail end of the stick, the tail end of the stick, over the middle finger. And having the index finger on top of the stick, taking it off the stick, helps you to feel this weight shift take place over the second finger. So the weight's in the heel of the stick when the stick is up. The weight is in the tip of the stick when the stick comes down to strike the pad. Always keep the stick and hand relaxed, the wrist and hand relaxed, that is, and let the stick motivate the hand. Let the stick push the hand up. So after a few minutes, you eliminate the quarter notes and do the same feel, only this time it's just eighth notes. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and relax the hand, relax the grip, the second finger and the thumb. Relax the wrist, forearm. Let the stick trampoline off the pad at the tip of the stick. Just It just rebounds, like dribbling a basketball on a court. And you do this for about a minute or two. Then what you're going to do, slide the index finger down so it's now opposite the thumb and forms the grip. The index finger is no longer on top of the stick. Timbali style, it is now in the correct playing position, opposite the thumb. The hand is open, it is cupped, so that the hand is hollow and the stick can now resonate. You'll get a much fuller sound if you keep the hand cupped around the stick, clave style. And just let the stick motivate the hand. Let the stick bounce up, you're just holding on, you're just along for the ride, and you'll feel the weight shift, which is very important. The weight shift takes place over the middle finger, over the second finger of the right hand. Do this for a few minutes. I usually do it 5, maybe 10 minutes, and the hand is nice and relaxed, and the wrist muscles are nice and warmed up after a few minutes of the offs and the ons. By the way, this exercise where I place the index finger back on the stick to form the grip is called the on exercise. And this is the pure fulcrum wrist bounce right here. I'm bouncing from the fulcrum, the second finger, and bouncing from the wrist, and the stick bounces like dribbling a basketball. That's the preparatory exercise for the fulcrum wrist bounce studies. Now, the left hand, traditional grip, there is 4 exercises, 4 parts of this exercise. The first part is called the off exercise. The fingers are off the stick. I'm holding the stick in the fulcrum, which is the crotch of the thumb and the index finger, and it's well in there. It's not loose and wobbling around. And I just play a series of eighth notes for a couple minutes, with the fingers extended straight out, not touching the stick, not motivating the stick. Again, as the stick strikes the pad, the kinetic energy released, the resultant kinetic energy that's released is more than enough energy to propel the stick and the hand back to the starting height, which would be about here. Again, practice this at quarter note 60 if you use a metronome, not fast. This is eighth note right here. 1 and 2 and 3 and I do this for about a minute, 2 minutes maybe. And just relax the wrist joint, relax the forearm muscles, the wrist muscles, relax the grip, and just let the stick trampoline off the pad, back to the starting height. Again, you'll feel the weight shift of the stick take place over the grip, over the fulcrum. When the stick is in the up position, when it rebounds up off the drum or pad, the weight is in the heel of the stick, in the ass end of the stick. When the stick comes down to strike the pad, you'll feel the weight in the front end of the stick, at the bead. Again, that weight shift takes place over the grip. All right, so after about a minute or so, I take my index finger and I loosely and gently curl it over the top of the stick, and keeping the same feel, the same dribbling the basketball feel, the index finger is now resting lightly on top of the stick, slightly curved. It's not inhibiting the bounce or stopping the bounce. The sound and the feel remain the same from before I put the index finger on top of the stick. The other 3 fingers remain off the stick. This is called the fulcrum loop. The fulcrum loop is the loop formed by the index finger and the thumb curling around the stick. The thumb is straight, it's relaxed. The index finger, first finger, is relaxed and slightly curled, and the stick just continues to bounce from the grip, from the fulcrum. The weight shift taking place as indicated before. So I do that for about a minute or 2. Then I take the index finger back off the stick, so I'm in the first open position, off position. Then I'm going to curl the 3rd and 4th fingers under the stick, close the 3rd and 4th fingers, so that the pads of the fingers, opposite the fingernails, are touching the palm of the hand. They're in contact with the palm of the hand at all times. They don't open, they don't come away from the palm, and I just continue the same feel. The bounce of the ball feel continues, just like bouncing a basketball. Okay, so after a few minutes of that, you'll feel the weight shift continue to take place over the grip, over the fulcrum, like a seesaw. And the next step will be to take the fingers off the stick again, open the 3rd and 4th fingers. Then I'm going to put the index finger back on top of the stick to form the fulcrum loop, keeping the same feel, same sound. Close the 3rd and 4th fingers. Now I'm in the on position. That is, the fingers are now on the stick, and I'm in playing position. Traditional grip left hand. After that, you spent a few days, maybe a week on that. Get the finger control book, go to page 14, and practice the first exercise, which is 2/8 notes with the right hand and 2/8 notes with the left hand. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Think up. Bounce up from the grip in the left hand, from over the middle finger, the second finger in the right hand. And again, let the stick push the hand up, motivate the hand. The hand does not pull on the stick. The next exercise would be 3 notes, 3/8 notes, or 2/8 notes on a quarter note. 1 and 2. Up, up, up. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Do that for a couple minutes. Then 4/8 notes. 1 and 2 and. Always let each stroke bounce up to its starting height. 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Then the next exercise, 5 notes. And 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. So on and so forth until you get down to the bottom of the page. The last exercise on page 14 is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Rest. And always let that last stroke bounce up. Always, actually, all the strokes bounce up. Then go to the next page, page 15. It's also 8th notes, but it's continuous 8th notes. The first line is, the first 2 lines are combined to form a 4-measure exercise. The first line is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and bounce up, bounce up, bounce. Then go to the second line. 1 and 2 and 4 rights, 4 lefts, and then go back to the 2 in each hand. Always keeping the same feel. Right, right, left, left, right, 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 left. Always bounce the ball. The tip of the stick is the ball, the pad is the court. And you're just holding on and dribbling the stick. So there's a series of exercises, 8th note exercises, utilizing this principle. The last line on page 15 is 2 measures of each hand, 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and bounce up, bounce up, bounce. 1, right hand. Notice the full resonant sound I'm getting out of the pad this way too. This is always, the stick is always bouncing up off the pad, and the energy created by the stick, the tip of the stick striking the pad, is more than enough energy, if you're relaxed enough, to propel the stick back up to the starting point. This way you develop the wrists in a very loose and relaxed, effective manner. The next page would be is a page of 8th notes triplets. The first line is thus: 3 with the left hand, 3 with the right hand. 1 and 2 and left, left. Again, bounce the ball. Sorry. 3 in each hand. Gotta get ahead of myself here. The next line. 2 and left, 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 left. Bounce, 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 bounce. Right, right. And you can see the hand is the wrist joints are very loose and relaxed. Then the next page of exercises would be 16th notes. 4 with the right, 4 with the left. 1 E and lead, 2 E. I'm sorry. 1 E and lead, 2 E and lead, 3 E and lead, 4 E and lead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Always letting the stick propel the hand. Never the other way around. The next line after that would be 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E. Right, 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 right. Bounce, 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 bounce. And then you work your way down to the page. The last line of page 17 would be 2 measures apiece. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 2 measures of the left hand, followed by 2 measures of the right hand. So on and so forth. Normally, when I was practicing this as a kid, I started this book in 1970 with Freddie. I would devote 5 minutes to each line. I'd have a clock, and I'd have a metronome, and I'd time myself 5 minutes each line. Okay, so that's those 4 pages, and we did that for about 6, 8, maybe 9 months before we even discussed the finger bounces, the finger technique, before you even showed me the first exercise for the fingers. Freddie's concept was to have the wrist develop to a high degree before even attempting the fingers, because the wrists are the motors that actuate the fingers, and I'll expound on that more later on. So to recap, the stick motivates the hand never motivates the stick. The stick pushes the hand up at all times. Feel the weight shift on the right hand take place over the middle finger, the second finger. when the stick is in the up position. The weight will be in the ass end of the stick. When the stick is striking the pad or drum, the weight will be in the front end of the stick. The left hand, the fulcrum or balance point is the crotch of the thumb and the index finger. Again, you bounce over the grip. The fulcrum of the left hand is the grip. When the stick is up, the weight is down here at the ass end. When the stick is down, striking the pad, the weight is in the tip of the stick. And if you do this in a relaxed, slow, you don't have to do these fast. These are not to be practiced fast. The quarter note may be between 60 and 80, 90, depending on your technique and your ability. Little by little, with time, you will be able to increase the speed. I hope this little overview of the fulcrum wrist bounce, it gives you some idea of how Freddie had us develop our wrist technique in preparation for the fingers. There's more to it, and I will be addressing these factors in future videos. Thank you so much for listening. Good night.